G'day everyone. Thanks very much for joining. Obviously, the fact that there are so many of you online means that this idea that Margot and I came up with some time back about a monthly refs rant seems to be good. The idea is really any topic is not off limits. Obviously, I do always remind people that if we're going to talk about people, please talk about the incident, not the person. So today, there's been a couple of, and I know I said last time we'd make this a bit of a free-for-all, so whatever questions you've got, that's fine. So I'm going to start with questions from the weekend that we've just had. And how I'm going to ask you to do that is so that we don't have 27 people jump off the mute at once. Can you put into the meeting chat, just me, please? And then what I will do is I will call you out in order and then you come off mute in order. So just so that we get that started. Secondly, I want to talk about cold weather attire. It first started, and I think I saw Paul Campbell on the chat earlier. It first started down at the NPL in the Melbourne finals because it just was exceptionally cold. I understand at the QPC on the weekend, being in sunny yet cold Queensland, that people again also wanted to have something to wear outside. Margot has been working with Sports Magic, and I think Paul's had some input to that, looking at some, firstly, a short sleeve type puffer jacket, and in fact, a sleeveless, a vest, and a longer sleeve over jacket, both with logos on it, and so that they can be used in times of inclement weather. Margot, I don't know if you just wanted to give everyone a bit of an update. No, there's no one come up with questions yet, so did you want to give everyone an update as to where we are with that? Obviously,
I'm going to hand that over to Grace because she's.
I was going to say I can jump in. So,
okay,
yes,
to
lighten Margot's load, I've taken on the referees' cold weather wear essentially. We do have two different designs. So as Dave said, we do have a puffer sleeveless vest, so that can be worn with your long sleeve referee shirt just to keep the core nice and warm. And also it's basically a spray jacket, so it's more so for protection from the wind and things like that. It's a little bit less warm than the other version, but it will still keep that heat in. Both options are basically being sent through to their design team to mock up a sample, and we should have that sample by the early next week. Once I have that and we can say that we're happy with the design and the quality and things, then the order will be placed through. Once that order reaches us, we will essentially go out to all officials and ask who would like to purchase one, because we're buying them via bulk order. They are going to be cheaper as well. So those who would like one, we can order them. I understand we are just going to miss that little like coldest part of winter, but you will have them for many other seasons. So yeah, they should be getting to you within the next month or so.
Great, thanks very much, Grace. So I still got nothing on the meeting chat, so I'll go to my second subject. People asked me following the last session where we talked about verbal warnings and, technical warnings and technical fouls, and what's the best way to show that to the players and okay, I've got one there now. How do we show that both to the players and indeed the spectators, so and probably also the commentators for those matches that are being live streamed? So let me tell you, I've been investigating, and I actually like the idea that is in the Major League Pickleball, where they've adopted what is essentially a soccer type use of cards, where we have, and hopefully you'll be able to see these, where we have a blue card, and we have an there we go, an orange card. And so the blue card is for a technical warning. An orange card is for a technical foul. Oops, I'm trying to work it out this camera. So a double card, orange and blue, is a game forfeit, as in one game. And obviously a double orange is a match forfeit. So how do we get those in the cheapest possible way? We've been waiting. MLP was going to provide them. They haven't done so as yet. So at great significant personal expense, I went down to Bunnings. And and I encourage you all to do the same thing. You go into the paint department. You get a paint swatch. This one is Taubman's. Taubman's had the best colours. Taubman's Blast Blue. You get 2 of them and you put some glue and stick them together. And if you're really smart, you then get them laminated like I did. The orange card is Rum Orange, also Taubman's, and they are a good size if you get the big swatches. So my encouragement is go down to Bunnings and you can get your cards. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions. The first one, I don't need Isabel to come on. She's just said, Canberra are having our tournament in a couple of weeks. I know the place you're having that. I used to have an apartment across the road. Any chance of getting those cold weather gear before then, Grace? I would think not. That's only a week and a bit away.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I would love to. It's just that we're having to wait for the supplier to be able to, because what they are is they're I can never say the term, but essentially they're spraying on the patterns onto both of these vests, to the vest and the jacket, and their lead time is a minimum of 3 weeks. So we've placed the order early, or as early as we can, but it would be a minimum of 3 weeks before it even reached us. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get it in time for that, but we are trying to do a rush job.
Okay, thank you. Adrian, you can either come off mute or I can call your question out. Your question is, what consideration do you give with a hinder if instigated by the player? Do you give the player the benefit of the doubt? Paul, Adrian, sorry, did you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, if it's a clear hinder that you see, you can call it straight away. So if it's ref instigated, you've acknowledged it was a clear hindrance, but sometimes a player call after they've hit the ball and the other player reacts and hits the ball back, it doesn't always appear like they were hindered by the call of the other player, but then they may turn around if they miss a shot and say, oh, that was a hindrance. What's your thought process when you're judging whether you actually feel that they were hindered or not?
Yeah, it's always a difficult and, excuse the pun, Adrian, a grey area. But the reality of it is whatever your gut instinct tells you is likely to be right. If your first initial impression is that's not a hinder, then it probably isn't. Especially if as they've played the shot and intended to play the shot, and then they've called hinder after the shot. I don't think that's a hinder. I think they've just hit a bad ball and now they're looking for someone else to blame. So I guess that's not the greatest answer that you're looking for, but the answer is go with your gut, because your gut will be right 90% of the time.
Thank you.
Next question is Paul Campbell to everyone. Is the cards effective immediately? No, they're not mandatory at all, Paul. It's just that the question was raised is how can we be more visual? That's just a way. I suggest we use them if we've got them. I've obviously made up a few for some tournaments that I'll be at, and therefore will be happy to share them. but no, it's not. It's not mandatory. Even in the MLP, and I understand the MILP, where it's listed in their rules, they haven't even provided the cards. So these are only some things I seriously made up on the weekend when I was asked about it. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Yes, it does, David. Thanks for that.
No worries. Now I've got I won't read out the person because this is a direct message to me. So I'll read it out, but I'm assuming they don't want their name said. It's after refereeing a relatively high level game on the weekend, and I won't say which state, I encountered an issue where one team continually failed to call balls out. As I was watching the kitchen, I could not always see where the balls landed. In one case, I called a point to the opposing team, which resulted in some, in inverted commas, discussion. I'm assuming they weren't happy. The matter was resolved, but I'll be interested to hear some more on the process for dealing with players who don't call balls out, please. Yeah, I'm happy if anyone wants to dive in here, but the answer really is this, is that it's a player's responsibility to call the balls out. And that's their responsibility. What you probably need to do in those circumstances is remind the players that is their responsibility. And indeed, if you think some of those calls are less than fair, you can always remind both sides, never single out one side from another, remind both sides that they can always challenge calls if they wish. I hope that answers it. So the person that wrote that, if you can just send a message directly to me so I don't pull it out.
Over the weekend, David, I had a couple where the ball was very close and there was no out call. So I just called as if it was in, and they very quickly remind you then that it was out. So they quickly correct it and start calling it.
Yes, if it's out, they certainly do. Thanks, Adrian. Denver has said to everyone, what happens in a medal match, which is usually the best of 3 games? If your player gets a blue orange card in the first game and a blue orange card in the second game, do they forfeit the second game, or do they need to get 2 blues or orange in the same game? So remember, in the best of 3 games, if you get a technical warning and a technical foul in any game, that is game forfeit. If you get 2 blues, which are 2 technical fouls, or 2 technical warnings and because that equates to a technical foul, and 1 technical foul, that is a match forfeit. They do not have to be in the same game. It is two technical fouls at any time during a match is a match forfeit, and it is scored 11-0, 11-0. I hope that answers your question, Denver. If I haven't, please yell out.
No, thanks, Dave. All good.
Janet, when will the players be told about the cards? Look, the first time you'll probably see them will be in the, I guess the players will be told about it when they see them being used. The players in the professional leagues have already been told because it is in their rule books. It's just that we haven't used them because they haven't been available. Is that answered for you, Janet? I can see you nodding there. Thank you. Robin has come back. All good, thanks. Brendan's joined in. Except I think it's Grace. When can do some social media content on that, David? We can do.
Yeah, so we can do some social media content on that to make it a bit more widely available to the direct players that follow through the channels. But we can also send some things out to be distributed if we feel like it's necessary to make it a bit more widely known.
Yeah, I mean, I think any part of communication is always good. Communication actually resolves a lot of things. So I would think it's a good idea.
Yep, consider it done.
Well, with that, we're going to be early. So did anybody have anything on their weekend tournaments that they wanted to raise before I just jump into the tournaments coming up? Nothing coming up. Okay. So from what I hear, things went well over the weekend in the tournaments that were played. From what I hear, everybody was well happy to have their rest at the end of the 5 days in Queensland. And I see a few people nodding your heads rather sharply right now. So I'll take that as a yes. But thank you guys for your, and when I say guys, I mean the proverbial everybody. Thanks for your commitment and the amount of efforts you all put in. I only heard good things over the weekend from all the tournaments that had referees. So that's absolutely terrific. So coming up, potentially this weekend, we have the Sydney Winter Series at Gosford. I understand for those of you that are going to that a call will be made in relation to weather by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So that should give you enough time to cancel your accommodation if you do have accommodation booked and it doesn't go ahead. After that, I believe we have there's a hustle tournament or a classic in Victoria the following weekend. And also that same weekend, the ACT Open. So that was the one that was being referred to before. And then the week after that, I believe it's the NPL have their champion. Is it the World Pickleball Championships at the Jar in Melbourne? And then that weekend, there is also the Yeppoon Seniors, the Yeppoon Festival of Pickleball, the MILP in Yeppoon, and then the QPT in Yeppoon. So that's the sanctioned tournaments we have this week. Obviously, everybody, whoever is going, your help will always be appreciated. I've got a note here. Do I have this correctly? Blue is a technical foul and orange is a technical warning. No. Blue is a technical warning. Orange is a technical foul. So that's probably fixes the rest of that comment. Oh yeah, no reverse, blue, yeah, got it. Then as an AFL umpire, we use yellow for lower level interactions and red card for you are stuffed. Yes, Paul, you are 100% correct. And I do know the NPL knew that when they brought this in. I probably would have gone through those colours as well, except these are the colours that they'd already adopted. I just didn't think it was worth changing those for change's sake. You know, at the end of the day, it is just a colour after all. So I hope you can live with that. Okay. Well, I'm giving everybody a final yell out. If anyone's got any questions, sick of me talking, wanting to get their last word in, Brian Alston's got a hand up.
Yeah, hello, everybody. On the events calendar, I'd just like to remind everybody that the first week in August is the Northern Rivers Regional Doubles. So please pencil that in because the next meeting we'll be very close to that date. And if you're coming this way, be prepared to do some games. That'd be great. We welcome all referees. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. In fact, I think the our next meeting is the day after your event, if memory serves me.
Then my reminder is timely.
Exactly. Okay. Margot, was there anything that you would like to say in closing? Other than the fact that you're probably exceptionally tired from 5 days.
Yeah, I don't really have a voice much, so I'm pretty done. I don't think so, Dave. Not at this stage. I was going to give Leonard a bit of a call during the week just about the hustle thing. I saw David Laurie up in Queensland, so I was just going to talk to you about that, Len. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Grace? What's going? Do we have anything else pressing?
No, not from my side. The main thing was the winter uniforms. There is a review of the officiating policy underway at the moment.
Yeah.
So once that's been reviewed by the board, that'll be distributed to everyone. But
yeah,
other than that, it's just get through this peak busy season, really.
Yeah, and just thanks to everybody, especially Brian and Janet for your head referee duties, Queensland. Exceptional as usual. It was you were good to get out, Janet. Good idea, leaving early. It was long and hard, and we needed more referees. So next year, guys, come to Queensland. It was lovely weather, but yeah.
Yep, things are only as good as the team around you.
Yeah, and a very good team. Yes. Lots of advancements over the weekend by a lot of people. So it was awesome. Sorry, I haven't got much more to say about it, but it was great.
That's great.
Okay.
Well, as we said from the word go, these are to be short, sharp, and not filled with waffle, because there is nothing worse than sitting there listening to somebody listening to their own hot air. So I will thank you all for attending, and I look forward to seeing you around. Oh, sorry, is that a hand up, Paul Campbell?
Not me, David, my better half.
It's actually Julie. And for all the novices like me, I actually raised a question that maybe some other novices would like some understanding of. So it was very hot in Queensland, and I am notorious for wearing a hat and then it falling off. So I actually asked a couple of refs to clarify my understanding as to what would happen if my hat fell off and landed on the court. Would it be play on? Would it be a hinder that the opposition could call it a hinder? If it went into the kitchen, was that a penalty? If they continued to play on but it hit my hat, what was the repercussion? So so that, I suppose that's an interesting one for novices to know what I found out. So Jen, Raymond Murphy and Margot went through it with me and looked up at the rules, and I think I have got it clear that if it falls off on the court, it's a play on. And if the opposition hits the hat, well, it's still play on. There's no hinder allowed. Is that correct, David?
If that's what Margot and Jen told you. And they looked up the rules.
Well, it's tricky.
Did we look up the rules, Julie? I can't remember.
Yeah, but then
I'm wondering if it passes the law of common sense at this point, but anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, I asked Dave because my hat always falls off. So in tennis, the opposition always get really angry with me and they want to call it a fault. But I wanted to know, as a very inexperienced ref, what I was meant to do. I wondered whether it would be whether the opposition could call it a hinder or not, or a fault. Anyway, Margot and Adrian and others more experienced, I think, could probably explain to more inexperienced people now on this chat what is the situation.
It all depends, I guess, when the hat fell off. If it fell off as part of a volley and fell into the kitchen, then that would be a fault.
Hang on, Adrian. I think it's Julie's hat that fell off, not the player's hat.
No.
As a player.
As a player. Sorry,
any,
Dave.
any
As
player's
a player.
hat.
Yeah.
Oh, a player's hat fell off.
Yeah.
Yes, as me
Play
as
on.
a player.
Play on.
Yeah.
Unless you were
Sorry.
volleying.
No,
and it
she's
fell
not
in
the referee,
kitchen.
Dave. She's the player. But if
Yeah.
she was being a referee and it happened,
Right.
Yeah.
Now
wants to know.
it's
not the
making a
referee's
lot-
hat.
It's making a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. So
So if your hat falls off, it's play on. If it falls off into the non-volley zone as you've volleyed, then it is a fault against you. Okay. If it falls off after you've volleyed, and it is still part of your momentum because you haven't regrounded, it is a fault. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's all fine. It's more that I'm clear with what Margot and Jen told me. It's more for this chat. There'll be many inexperienced players like me that probably needed that understanding, because that's why I asked it.
Yeah.
I thought you meant you were refereeing the game
No.
and your hat fell off, and I was trying to struggle with why that wouldn't be a hinder. But anyway,
the other thing, David, you could probably clarify, if the hat does fall off and it's not in the non-volley zone, it's play on.
Yep.
But if the opposition then hit it,
Yep.
then the ball
Still
is
play on.
dead. It play on, but is the ball dead when it hits the hat?
No, it's still play on.
Yeah.
But you won't get a shot away at it.
No. So it's play on. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, remember, Adrian, we had the weight off the paddle head fall in the non-volley zone part of the skinny singles that wasn't being played, didn't we? At one stage?
Yeah, I was
And-
just talking about if the hat got hit. So the opposition then hit the ball and it hits your hat that's fallen off. The falling off of the hat's not a problem. That's just play on.
Yeah.
I just wanted clarification from David of if that hat then gets hit, is the ball
Still play
dead?
on.
Because it's still play on because
Becomes
it's in
part
court.
of the court.
Yeah, it's not a permanent object per se. Now, of course, don't forget the opposition can always overrule to their own detriment. So if for whatever reason they sort of thought it was unfair to the opposition, as what happened in the final of the Bondi tournament last night, there was a serve, guy went to hit the serve and he hit the side wall, and he said, well, what's the ruling? I said, well, you're not going to like it, but it's their point. The side wall is a permanent object. The other side said, no, look, we'll just serve it again and play it. We don't want to win that way. So people can always do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie, for bringing up a player question and confusing me.
Sorry, Dave.
You're right, no worries. Janet, you've got your hand waving there. You haven't learnt technology yet, I see.
Yeah, what you were just saying there about the weight, the paddle weight fell in the non-volley zone on the other side of the skinny singles. Can you just verify what happened there and what the result was?
Were you there, Adrian, or was it just relayed to you? I can't remember.
That was just relayed to me. That was I wasn't officiating that one.
We didn't see it. It just went into the other part, which wasn't part of the court at the time. So, I mean, nothing. That wasn't a replay or anything. I don't know.
Sorry, can I just clarify that the non-volley zone?
Yes, but it was the skinny singles.
No,
yes,
the non-volley zone in skinny singles goes across the full width of the court, regardless of which side is played.
So if the thing fell in there and it was a volley, would that be a fault?
Yes, it would.
Oh, well, I think it was a non-officiated match. So,
But don't forget, that's why you can't go into that area to
that's a good
do
one.
an earning. So
That's
the
a
non-volley
real good
zone
one.
extends across the full court for skinny
So
singles.
if the hat had gone in there
Yep.
during the volley,
Yep,
that would be a fault.
be a fault. If they, same as if they stand in there to do a
Yeah.
volley, it's a fault.
Right.
Sorry, I can't find a hand to put up. Robin here.
Yes, Robin.
That comment that you made just then is inconsistent with both the American interpretation and the interpretation that we received for our previous tournament, which included skinny singles. And that was that
well, it's not inconsistent with what you received for your WA tournament, Robin, because I wrote it. And that has been the rule adopted by PAA. There are a number of inconsistencies in what the US have, which is what they call slim singles. There is some actual errors in their rule book. We haven't got round to dealing with all of them yet, but that was put out by PAA for the Australian Championships last year, that the non-volley zone extends across the whole court.
Yeah, we applied that principle for the WA Championships in February, but then we were advised it was different following that.
Who told you that?
Look, I can't remember exactly who told us that. I thought it came from Brendan actually, but can we just get a reference point or a clarification on that, please? Because I actually agree with your interpretation. I'm 100% behind you on that one.
Yeah, the interpretation is what PAA have adopted, and they asked me to write it, so I know what it says.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with your interpretation without doubt, because I think the American rule book is inconsistent and actually.
I think some people, when they wrote it late at night, because there's even things in there about the serve and how you still call it with your normal cadence, and it's a fault if they serve from the wrong area, which is, as you know, incorrect. We're supposed to correct players now.
Yeah. So where would we get a copy of PAA's ruling then at this stage?
Grace, if you can't find that, I do know I sent it to who's the lady that looks after competitions, because she asked for it last year.
Kelly.
No.
No, it wasn't Kelly. Competitions. Kath.
Yes, it was Kath. But if you can't find it, I can pull it out again.
Yeah, I'd really appreciate a copy of that, or some a pointer in the direction of where it is, because I would like to interpret that way.
I know I specifically wrote to someone in WA because they specifically wrote to me about it.
Yeah, we definitely use that rule in WA.
It was interesting because I had a discussion with on the American website, the Facebook page, and got squarely put back in my place at one point. So really appreciate a copy of that. That'd be great.
Yeah. Don't forget though, PAA determines what happens in Australia. Yeah. Americans do what Americans do, and you know we have what we do here.
Thank you.
No worries. But if Grace can't get it, she can yell to me and I will get it out. It's just a matter of going through 100,000 emails.
It's fine. I'm sure I should be able to find it.
We can put it up on the website with the other rule book and everything else. Okay.
Okay. And now that we've already gone over, but I will get to you, Kylie, because I see you've gone to the trouble of typing in. I had another question from a week ago from Skinny Singles. Please.
It seems very silly to me, but just because we're on the topic of Skinny Singles, at Grand Slam a couple of weeks ago, our men's open were playing Skinny Singles, and they were trying to tell me, well, one of the people there was trying to tell me that when they were playing cross court, that you were still allowed to ATP down the line into the box that's in front of you, which is not the box that they're playing into. I very adamantly told them that box is out of play and that's not what's happening. And they argued. I mean, I did win. I was head referee, but they were adamant that it was in the PAA rule book. It's what they played at Queensland Championships last year. And I was just telling them no. And in the end, I just said, well, tournament director is making a decision and that is not the rule that we're playing here. So you do sometimes hear weird things, especially around Skinny Singles from from I don't know, from crazy places. So it's good that if we have that reference book just to refer people to.
I mean, that's just clearly wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else to say about that. The only thing I would say though, let's not get it. It's a lot of these things are dealt with if they're dealt with short and sharp, and it's sort of, no, that's not correct. This is not a debate. Play on, and you just move on, because if we start getting discussions, Margot sent me a link to a Facebook thing over the weekend or last week about somebody muttering a word they probably shouldn't have used, but I think the only person in the whole stadium that heard it was the referee, and then the referee followed the player around and started to debate it and argue it, and again it ended up into a debacle. And at the end of the day, the person that caused it was the referee by engaging in more conversation that was actually necessary. You make your call and you move on. The more we give oxygen to stuff, the more fire will rage. Yes, Janet?
As skinny singles is relatively new and a lot of people don't know complete rules, such as Kylie was talking about, would it be a good idea before tournaments if the rules of skinny singles just get sent out to every player that's registered for the tournament? Or
Yeah.
it's or a link is put on the front of the tournament in general information?
Yeah, the issue here is that, to be quite frank, Janet, it sits with me. I haven't gone through that skinny singles book and picked out all the errors to make it right. So that's why it sits with me. I haven't finished. I dealt with the things that were most important, and that's why they went out as interpretations. But I do have it on my to-do list, and I think it is Kath that follows me up and asks me, where are you up to?
Okay.
So at 7:11, which sounds like a time that you should be going to the convenience store at the corner.
There is one more chat there.
Oh, is there? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Watched a PPA game on the weekend. 2 drink bottles rolled part of the way onto the playing area, not the court. They did a replay. PPA.
Look, they might have.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they did. Obviously the referee ruled that it hindered a player, and I'm assuming it caught in their eye, a bit like a bird could fly down and swoop on the court. It catches your eye. I don't know that incident, but I'm assuming that that's what they've ruled.
Yeah, it's the referees.
It's discretion.
Discretion, yep. Yeah. All right.
Well, again, thank you everyone for attending. Grace, thanks very much for organising the meet. Once again, thank you everyone for your commitment to refereeing. It is very, very, very much appreciated by PAA, and it is most certainly appreciated by the players. It's amazing the amount of times I go to tournaments and that you have the people that are there just saying, you know what, we really couldn't do this without you guys. And I echo those thoughts, so thank you. With that in mind, Brian, good luck with your tournament. And indeed, everybody else, good luck with tournaments over the weeks ahead. And we'll see if Gosford goes ahead this weekend. With that, I'll say good night, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.